A cinematic snapshot of the USA from the breezy shores of Deauville, France. That's what the annual American Film Festival offers movie fans here in Europe, with a star-studded lineup treading that red carpet this year, including Johnny Depp, Oliver Stone and Michael Shannon, as well as world premieres and exciting new releases from Sean Penn and Denis Villeneuve. Well, to tell us more about the 47th edition of the festival, I'm joined by its Deputy Director, Aude Esbert. Aude, thanks so much for being with us. Now, this year, it's returned to the festival after a very scaled-down edition last year due to the pandemic. How did you want to mark that return? What were your priorities putting together the festival this year?
First and foremost, we're thrilled to gear up for this new edition of Deauville American Film Festival after such a long year of chaotic times and lockdown, and we were missing cinemas, so we're extremely happy to be back together again in theaters. And I think the audience is very eager and is craving for films on the big screen. So our priority this year was the audience, definitely, and we're extremely happy to have American guests back in Deauville this year after a year of absence. We were lucky enough to have the festival last year, but without American guests. So our priority this year is, of course, American cinema and the audience.
Indeed, guests and a very enticing lineup. This is the most American of cinematic events here in France, and one of this year's features has a nod to that in its very name, Flag Day. Based on true life events and a somewhat turbulent father-daughter relationship, the film's directed by Sean Penn, who also acts alongside his daughter Dylan Penn. Let's take a look.
Through the years, long and wearing, with you my dreams I will be sharing. In whatever you choose to endeavor, I will support you forever and ever.
I think the greatest hope a man can have is he leaves something beautiful behind. Something he made.
Come
Dylan Penn there, really carrying that film, Flag Day. Aude, Dylan is in Deauville this year to receive the Hollywood Rising Star Award. We know her father well for his acclaimed career on screen in the 80s and 90s. But how do you think Dylan represents a new Hollywood, this new generation of artists?
I mean, she's amazing in the film, first of all, and we're super happy to have the film presented here in Deauville after it was in Cannes. Dylan is playing a very, very daring role in the film. She's playing a daughter facing a hard relationship with her father, and she's playing under the direction of her own father and next to her own father. So telling from this story, you can tell that it's a daring role, and she's embodying with lots of charm, delicacy, and authenticity, this role. And our role in Deauville is to discover new faces of American cinema. I can remind you that Jessica Chastain, Paul Dano, Ellie Fanning, when they first came to Deauville, nobody knew their names. And now I think nobody can tell that they don't know. So we strongly hope Dylan Penn will be a part of them.
Yeah, that Rising Star Award, very much a prescient prize there at Deauville. And as I mentioned, Deauville's synonymous with contemporary American cinema, but there's a particularly strong selection of French films this year too. What does that say about the health of French cinema at the moment, do you think?
I think French cinema is always in. It has a uniqueness all over the world. I mean, it was one of the countries that resisted most during the pandemic. As soon as the theaters opened, the audience responded and responded most of all to French films and to European films. There's a love for cinema, for cinema as an art in France, and we wanted to celebrate that passion for film at Deauville, introducing a window on French cinema with 6 world premieres as a present for the audience.
Indeed,
and also as a way of strengthening the bridge that exists and that has been existing forever between France and America, the two founding nations of cinema.
Indeed, it's an artistic partnership there. And a handful of films at Deauville also had outings at a recent festival a little further south, screening in the 74th Cannes Film Festival. Last year, with most cultural events severely compromised by the pandemic, Cannes and Deauville joined forces and shared their selections to a certain extent. Aude, you've continued with that strategy this year. Why is it a winning formula?
As we mentioned when we started this conversation, the priority this year was to put the audience first. And last year, the audience loved to have the privilege of discovering the highlights of Cannes. And we wanted, I think Thierry Frémaux was super happy also to come here in Deauville and to share the film with a real audience. And we wanted to continue and go on with this wonderful partnership.
Indeed, one of those films showing in Cannes was Oliver Stone's JFK Revisited, his documentary return to the historical assassination that shook America in 1963. We got a chance to sit down with him at the festival, where he told us more about the significance of that event almost 6 decades later.
Murder is always fascinating. Crime is apparently never ends. People watch crime series and serial killers and all that, but this also has a political implication. It's far more serious than, as I tried to point out, since Kennedy was killed, no American president has crossed certain lines. These lines are into the military sector and the intelligence sector.
Oh, there's a focus on documentaries at Deauville this year. Oliver Stone's JFK, also accounts of the life and work of Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey. In terms of content, can we conclude then that real life is more exciting or perhaps more spectacular than fiction right now?
Oh, it goes back and forth. I think cinema is often ahead of reality, and the contrary can also be said. But the fact is, cinema is really a mirror of our societies, and at least an echo of our concerns. And the section of documentaries tells us a lot about cinema and about the contemporary American society, as well as the competition here in Deauville, which is made of 13 films that are questioning the model of and the values of the founders of America. It is really interesting to see that the young directors are really attached to those values and are fighting to protect them. And they are very much concerned about the way the past few years have been very troublesome for American ideals in terms of course, women situation, in terms of violence, in terms of poverty. So the films are exploring the margins of America, and for the viewers of France 24, I'm sure they will be very happy to be able to travel and to go across all America, where you can never go yourself, and explore all the ways of life of America today.
Indeed, a fascinating selection there, be it in fact or in fiction. Aude Espert, thank you so much for speaking to us from Deauville. That was Aude Espert there, Deputy Director of the festival. Now, as movie theatres in many parts of the world are welcoming back visitors in ever-rising numbers, some film fans are on the lookout for uplifting features to provide a bit of positivity in a pandemic-ravaged world. A new film released here in France does just that. It's the story of 94-year-old Gogo, who decided to enroll in a primary school in her native Kenya. Claire Rush tells us more.
Sitting at a school desk at 94 is not something many of us would consider, but most of us aren't Gogo. When she was 90, she left her farm in Western Kenya and signed up for primary school.
I decided to go to school because I was frustrated when my granddaughters stopped studying when they had children. I wanted to show them it was possible.
She's treated like any regular student.
10 times 10 now. Yes? 100. 100. Okay? That is good one.
And shown no favoritism. On school trips, she's seen things she never would have. And at the premiere of her film, her classmates gave her a hero's welcome. The local celebrity has inspired an entire generation.
When Gogo joined our school, we had about 100 or 120 pupils. But at the moment now, we have over about 450 going to 500 pupils. And a number of them is because of attraction of Go-Go.
Behind the camera, French director Pascal Plisson. Go-Go came to Paris for the film's release in cinemas, her first time leaving Kenya, accompanied by her great-granddaughter.
I'm very happy to have made this journey, especially with my great-granddaughter, so that she and other people from Kenya can see what a difference an education can make.
If an old person can go to school, why not the small people?
Go-Go's studies have been suspended because of the coronavirus pandemic, but once she's back in the classroom, she'll be focusing on her next goal, getting into university.
Finally, staying with cinema, another historical meet is also taking place in neighbouring Italy. The Mostra in Venice is well underway, and one of the hotly anticipated features there comes from a renowned Italian talent, Paolo Sorrentino. His latest, very personal film, The Hand of God, takes place in Naples in the 1980s and does indeed include a reference to that legendary footballer Diego Maradona. We'll leave you with the cast and crew of that film on the red carpet. Otherwise, do check out our website, france24.com, for more arts and culture. There's more news coming up just after this.
Climate change is forcing Senegal to revive its Great Green Wall project, on hold now for 15 years. The Pan-African Agency is in Louga in the northwest to talk to the people there.
Cet arbre dont ils ont besoin, ils vont s'en occuper, ils vont l'aimer, ils vont l'arroser, et ils vont attendre de lui qu'il donne des fruits.
A huge project sowing a small seed of hope.
Forestation as a result that has plunged the community into poverty, and poverty albeit migration, conflicts.
Find out how some of Africa's most arid lands are being brought to life in Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.